course.
Now, I would like to introduce the one, the only, me.
Hey, Squiddies, is Dre from Tattoo Squid Podcast here with one half. I say one half because the other half is on a boat somewhere of Campfire Classics, Mr. Ken Sandberg, or we're going to call him Mr. Sandberg, like in The Matrix. Yeah.
Yeah, that works. I can be Mr. Sandberg.
he's like, I don't know if I like that, but we'll go with it.
No, that's cool. It feels a little professorial. Makes me feel like a teacher or something. I'm not sure if I'm ready for that, but cool.
Here we go, folks. You know, Tattoo Squid doesn't really have big words, but we're gonna have big words today. Yeah, it's like professorial. I don't even know what the fuck that is, but anyway, we're gonna go with it.
Professorial. Like a professor.
See, now this is like, now if anybody that doesn't know, and I'm going to give a little synopsis of the show for you, but you can describe it later on down and get it.
Sure, yeah.
But in a nutshell, Ken and his fiance, right? You're not married yet.
That's correct. Still fiance.
Yeah. Which Heather is on a boat near Honduras, kind of like Miami-ish, in and around that area, doing her thing that she does, and you know, basically, it's a literary podcast where they read books to each other that they pick for each other. So and then they do the fun facts of said author. You know, whether it's, you know, the guy was a malicious killer, but he wrote in his free time. Or, you know, and then he likes little girls off to the side. Oh, that's not so good. No.
Yeah. There are a lot of those dudes. There are a lot of those dudes who, especially by today's standards, were we'll say problematic.
Yeah.
They had some issues.
Yeah, but you figure they're in the 1800s, and a lot of that stuff just really flows, you know, out there. So they let it go by the hip, the waist side. You know, if you ever seen Sherlock Holmes, you'll know why. Yeah.
Yeah, they were all doing cocaine and morphine
and what's that drink actually? You had to
absinthe.
Yes, you know, you had to put
Green
on
Fairy. Yeah,
you got to drip it on the little like ice or like the cube of sugar, you know. Dilute.
But I will say, working on Campfire Classics with Heather, it's been great fun because I have learned so many big words. Because one of the things we do, because we're reading all these stories, right, that they're in public domain, and we pick stories in public domain because we don't like getting sued by authors, because that's a terrible business model.
Who wants that? You know, you're gonna have to get the guy from Daredevil. Listen, can you help me out here?
Yeah, right. So we're choosing stories from public domain. Most stories in public domain are at least 100 years old.
Yeah,
which means you're dealing with authors who have a certain I don't know, literary classiness to them, and they're using older words, and older words have a tendency to be bigger words. And so what we do is we're reading and hit a word that I'm like, I don't know what the fuck that means. So we look it up.
Yeah, which is great. I mean, I'm like, I listen to the podcast and I'm like, oh, I'm laughing hysterical because the hysterical we call laughter between the two of you, like I said before, it's a little ear piercing, but it is also good because they're like, well, what is this word? And then they look it up. They're like, hold on. It means that he likes to put his something in. Well, we're not going to say that on the air. No.
We're not going to use that one.
Like not
dear
way.
Dear listener, go ahead and look that up yourself.
Yeah. You know, it's like it could be Ron Jeremy. Oh, who knows? Yeah, but you know, that's going to be a good fucking episode art. Ron Jeremy. And, you know, put him in the 1800s.
Ron Jeremy fucking a book.
Yeah. No, it's like, here, I'll hold the door. I'm not even going to use my hands. You know? You know, it's like, holy shit. You know, it's like...
Yeah. The other really fun thing about reading those stories is it's amazing how many words mean different things now than what they meant when the stories were written.
Oh yeah, definitely.
If you're a regular listener, you'll know that we always love it when the word ejaculated comes up.
Yeah.
Because it was, 70, 80, 100 years ago, it was very common to say, oh, he ejaculated this, he ejaculated that. He went to the window and ejaculated. Oh my. Well, that means something different now.
He was so crying that he ejaculated tears. Yeah. It's like, really? Is that what ejaculated means? I thought it was something else. I'm like, oh. But then also they have and I like the fact that when you pick the authors or the stories for each other, which is each and every week. So like 1 week, Ken would go and put it for pick one for Heather, and then the following week she does the same for him. So, but now she, like I said, is on hiatus, doing her own thing on a boat.
Yeah,
and everything else.
she's
And you got people coming in to sub, as somewhat, and I think there was like a person. I'm not really sure about the name. You just mentioned it before. The person that's.
Yeah. So I've had a few people guest host, but Emily Bosco has been coming in and doing a lot of guest hosting. And we've finally like improved her mic sound quality, and we've gotten a little bit of a rhythm going. So I think she's going to be the person who guest hosts most of the episodes from now until Heather is able to come back.
And she's fallen into the whole thing now.
Yeah.
So it's like, when you listen, and folks, if you haven't listened to Campfire Classes, you need to, even though if you're not a literary, like person like myself. I mean, I read books, but not like older books and, the big words. Listen to it. It's funny. You get a whole bunch of banter, and I love the campfire. How you're like, and I'm like, how the fuck did he do that? And I know it's, podcast, magic.
Yeah.
So, which this magic I only use on this, but and everybody has a different style to them. You two have a great style, and not a lot of people have anything that's close to what you do, I believe.
Thank you. I will take the style thing as a compliment. As far as not many people doing what we do, I agree. It's part of why we decided to do it. The podcast started, we went on a camping trip.
Yeah.
And we're looking for stuff to do around the fire, and went to a bookstore and found a book that was a collection of Agatha Christie mysteries.
Yeah.
And so we sat around reading them and found it was really funny to like, wow, okay, that's a sex joke. That's a sex joke. Oops, he's racist.
There's something wrong with this picture.
and we thought it was really funny, and thought it would make a really good podcast, and looked around to see if anyone else was doing it, and realized no one else is doing anything like this. So I guess we will.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, when I first seen the title, because I'm going through the whole thing, and I don't know, when have you started doing the Campfire Classics?
Close to 2 years ago now.
So basically, like almost before pandemic was.
It was very early in the pandemic.
Yeah.
When we started recording it, it was something that we'd been talking about doing for a while, and then the pandemic hit, and we went, well, got free time now. May as well start that podcast.
Yeah. Hey, we got a room. We got stuff. Go and do this shit.
Yeah.
And then you see how it happens, like with our people making podcasts. Like, oh well, here's the pandemic. I'm going to do a podcast, and then you see where the people are committed, and where they're just like, oh, it's a hobby, or I mean, it's a hobby. Yeah, you can still do it as a hobby, but then some people do it as a business.
Sure.
But then they do they're like, oh, okay, and then next thing you don't see them ever again, because the pandemic has been lifted somewhat. So everybody's doing their regular jobs. They're doing this, like I said, Heather's doing her thing.
Yeah.
She's probably going like, what the hell is going on with Ken? It's like, well, he's hanging out with a squid. So.
Yeah, I told her I was coming on to do this, and she's actually kind of jealous that I get to come do the interview circuit, and she's like, well, I'm gonna go sit on a boat and drink some whiskey and watch the water go by.
Well, see, you know what? We're kind of like jealous as well.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't drink whiskey, but it kind I'm drinking iced tea, so it is kind of like whiskey to me.
it looks like whiskey.
Mm-hmm. It's actually Dimebag from Pantera. You can't really see because this whole background thing is like
Yeah.
shades out the whole thing, and this is only I'm not gonna say temporary, but this is like something where I have a room for myself. Like the room that you have, but I have it where I have like all my stuff of horror, you know, memorabilia, I would say.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
let me write that down. So we're gonna have some horror in that sucker. But
Yeah.
campfire. But see now the reason going back to what I was saying about I seen the title Campfire Classics. Now
Yes.
in my mind I was like, oh wow, they're gonna do like ghost fucking stories and like horror kind of things. They're like because camping that's like I love camping. I would go again if I could.
Yeah.
Have you ever gone camping? Or I mean, I think you
Oh,
did. I think you mentioned that. Yeah.
yeah. A camping trip is how the podcast started.
Yeah.
We were reading stories around a campfire on a camping trip. Heather and
Right.
I go camping a lot.
Yeah.
It's
Oh, so I was like, listen, you need the basic necessities. You get the camp, you get the tent, the sleeping bag if you can be able to handle sleeping on the ground and getting up. Because like myself,
Yeah.
I'm like in an age of 48, which to me that's old, and I can never get off the damn ground. But let alone I was drinking too, so that's the whole other thing.
Yeah. I used to be able to just like throw a sleeping bag on the ground and
Yeah.
good to go. That was my night. And
Yeah.
somewhere around my 33rd, 34th birthday, camping trips, I couldn't do that anymore. I needed a mat. And now I'm at the point where if I'm going camping, I'm bringing an inflatable mattress with me. Like I'm not messing around.
There was friends of mine that had like the big one, the big one where it just stands like, like 5'9" or whatever, and
Mhm.
it's like 4 foot, and you just lay down there, no problem. Me, I got I bought a cot, like a foldable cot, and I did that, and I'm like, oh, this is gonna be great. I'm not gonna be on the ground, and I'm laying it. I'm like, I can't even get out of this motherfucker. I tell you. And I'm like, shit, and then especially with the drinking of drinking Jägermeister and having beer and this and that. I'm like, oh,
Yeah. So the camping essentials, Jägermeister and beer.
yeah, pretty much. That's that, and well, you need a tent, you need this and that, but also, if you get to a campsite that has, like, say, a plug, because there is places that does have electric,
Yeah.
and you could plug in your radio, you could plug in this. So we had a friend brought her along. She's like, oh, I could plug in my coffee maker. I'm like, no, we get the coffee, put it on the stove, and then you cook it, like that. And then she goes, well, next year I'm bringing my air conditioner. I'm like, that defeats the fucking purpose of camping. What the
You mean
fuck?
air conditioner camping?
Yeah, well, and then she found a tent that had a little hole in there that you could put the air conditioner in, but it's not going to hold because it's a
Because it's
tent.
a tent.
So, but we call her accident prone. So she falls around somewhere, and she's drunk somewhere, and and it's either in the fire or hit her head on a spigot, or you name it, she's done it. Caught her hair in the zipper of the tent.
Ow.
Yeah. And the husband's like, okay, oh, you need help? Okay, no problem. Grabs the video camera. I got to videotape this for prosperity.
That is love right there.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, could you help me? It's like, hold on, the film's still running.
Yeah. No, and that's the thing is you know that you love someone when something embarrassing is happening. First, you make sure they're okay, but
Yeah.
as soon as you know they're okay, it's like, okay, great, this is going to be good video content.
Yeah.
Because if it wasn't love, if it was just like, yeah, I kind of like you, then you wouldn't want to screw it up. So you wouldn't do that. But when it's love, you're like, oh no, this is fine. We're just keep the tape rolling.
Yeah. And to the point where that they are like in a position where they're not going to go and hit you. Yeah. And then you have time to run when you put the camera down. See ya. And hopefully they calm down. But
You can't chase me. Your hair's in a zipper.
oh, you know the song. Okay, yeah, he's been there. You were that guy. Okay, he was over there in the corner. Yeah.
Oh, it wasn't me.
So, folks, if you haven't noticed, I write down stuff. So I do episode art. So whatever we talk about, I put it in here, and I make an episode art. And apparently, I'm like famous for this stuff. So I'm just gonna keep on doing it. So you'll see it on there. I'll tag you,
Great.
and you'll be like, "Holy shit!" You know. And there's a lot of people that said it too. You know, especially there was one. Are you familiar with any other podcasts that you know talk with, or do you just?
A handful of them. I only very recently took over the communication part of this
Yes, I remember.
podcast.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
Just like a month ago. Here I can pull up the names of some of the other ones that I do chat with. But like our first major contact, they used to be called Wine Dine and Story Time. They just became the Crime Diner.
Yes, I just had
Yeah.
them on like a couple of weeks ago.
Oh yeah, they're great. They were our first guests.
Oh, okay.
We don't often get guests on our show,
Yeah.
but there is an occasionally recurring segment that we do called True Crimes and a Lie.
Yeah.
And the way it works, for your listeners and viewers who may not know, is I will read the synopsis of 3 crimes. 2 of them are true crime stories, and one of them is a work of fiction.
Oh, I heard
And
this
then-
one. Yes.
Yeah, and then it is the guest's job and Heather's job to see if they can figure out which ones really happened and which
Yeah.
ones are fiction. And back when they were Wine Dine and Story Time, they were our first guests on the podcast. And one of the 3 of the ladies correctly guessed which was the true crime.
I'm trying to figure out who probably did. I would say Nitty, I think, would get it down there, but I don't know. It's been a while. So
Yeah.
no, I'm just
But yeah,
figuring who one of the 3 would get it. You know, the synapses. Yeah.
Yeah. But so we had them on. We had I think it was Wayne from Florida Man on Florida Man.
Okay. Yeah. I
He's-
talked to them once in a while, but I haven't really got him on yet. So
Yeah, he was on. That was great fun. So yeah, we've got a few other people that we chat with.
Florida Men. Yeah, I just do like an honorary kind of honorary mentions.
Yeah.
So get it on there, and even Ron Jeremy honorary mention. You know.
Great.
Well,
Yeah,
it's-
absolutely. Tag him in this episode.
Oh yeah,
I
no,
love
no,
it.
definitely. You know, like listen, Ron, you're getting old, but the winking eye is bigger than your forearm. That's all I have to say. You know, anyway.
Man, the hashtags on your post are going to be really eclectic. It's going to be really scattered.
Yeah, it's like a whole bunch of
Camping.
porn stars are going. Come on,
Camping, Ron Jeremy, Crime Diner.
Daredevil. You know, campfires.
Campfires, horror movies.
Yeah, horror movies. Just listen, Ron Jeremy. When you go next to a campfire, make sure your winker is not going to set on fire. Yeah, or you might put it out. I don't know.
Keep him away from your friend, or she might knock him into the fire.
Oh man, yeah, we haven't gone camping in a long time. I don't know if that's gonna happen or not. But and you know, and actually, Ron Jeremy and oh, what the hell was that kid's name? He was on Terminator 2. Furlong.
Ed Furlong.
Yeah. You see the pictures now. They were like hanging out together. They look like father and son.
Really?
Yeah. Like, you know, like Edward, we call it, you know, kind of like let himself go a little bit. And Ron Jeremy always lets himself go.
Well, sure. When you're Ron Jeremy, you do what you
Yeah,
want.
you're Ron Jeremy. And then every girl's like, oh, if I can get screwed by Ron Jeremy, you know, it'll propel my career. Is there somebody that's not supposed to be hearing this?
Oh, no. I was clearing my throat and not trying to make a horrible coughing sound into the microphone.
Oh, believe me, there's gonna be some burping shit going on here. Come on now, you know, you don't have to be a little like, you know, prim and proper around the squid area. Yeah, we can do whatever. You know, we can. You know, if farting's involved. You know,
Force of habit. I'm the one who edits Campfire Classics.
Yeah.
So if I can cough off mic, I like to do that.
Oh yeah,
because,
no, that's
because
no
it
problem.
saves me having to edit it out later.
Well, that's no problem with me because I don't edit shit. You know the shit. I'm like, that's it. I mean, I don't really know how to edit that much except for adding the little clips for like the audio or something. Like video wise, I
Yeah.
have no fucking clue. That's why I always ask my girlfriend to do the thing. But now I'm like, nah, I do the Zoom chat. I just leave it as it is, raw, uncut, put it right out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. What would be your? We're talking about movies before,
Sure.
certain kind of movies. Now, what was the type of movie that Ken Sandberg would go and look? I mean, something that nobody would ever figure from your listeners to my listeners. Yeah.
Um, I mean, I don't know if this will be a huge surprise, but I've always been a big sci-fi and fantasy fan. Like those have always been my go-to genres.
Ah, nice.
Like my dad taught me how to play Dungeons and Dragons from a very young age, and that colored the way I grew up. Like I read the Fellowship of the Ring trilogy when I was in 4th grade or something like that.
Yeah.
I was reading Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time series as it was coming out, back in the 90s.
I watched that recently, The Wheel of Time, because my girlfriend wanted me to watch it. Not the book. I mean, she read the book, but then she was watching the series, and then she's like, "Oh, watch it." And I'm like, "We're watching too many fucking series." And I'm like, I'll watch it on my own time. And then I did. I got hooked.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm waiting for the fucking second season or so coming out.
It's coming. It's coming.
Yeah.
Although they recast the actor who's playing Matt, which
Yeah, I think he had to leave or something. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he had to leave.
there was
for
some
reason.
problem.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was. And then right now I'm doing a binge watch through of the Stargate series.
Oh, really? MacGyver,
Yeah.
Richard Dean Anderson. Nice.
Yeah, Richard Dean Anderson was in the first like 8 seasons of that, but they ended up like Stargate SG-1 had like 10 seasons, and Atlantis had 5, and then they had another one for a couple seasons. So that was a show that I because that was on back in the day before streaming.
Yeah.
Back when you actually had to catch the show when it aired.
Yeah. It was like, 8 o'clock, Sci-Fi Channel. Oh,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
Which
And-
and also I'm trying to get and Josh Gates, if you're listening to this, the what the hell was the show that was Destination Truth? Remember that one on Sci-Fi?
Vaguely. Although growing up, we didn't have growing up, we had ABC, NBC, CBS, and Fox, and occasionally Canadian Broadcasting would come through.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Those were the TV channels I had as a kid.
And scene. And but no, but we could they on the Sci-Fi Channel, when being a sci-fi guy you are, they have there's Josh Gates, and then this is like his I'm not gonna say first series, but he did a thing where he's like, oh, we're gonna see about the pygmies, and see if they're real. We're gonna go here, and money was no object. They go fly around everywhere.
Nice.
And it's awesome. So now I'm like, I've been trying to get celebrity guests to come on, hopefully. So I'm like, I tried Elvira, I tried Johnny Depp, I tried Broken Lizard, I tried and then I'm like, Josh Gates. Oh, I gotta get Josh Gates. And
Right. So Josh Gates, if you're listening, and obviously you're listening, give us a call. Come on down.
And I did do the call thing. I put the little thing on, like, call me. Like every Hollywood person. Hey, call me. Now it's like, email me. Yeah.
Oh yeah, right. Like if I do the call me thing, that doesn't mean call me. Like, don't ever call me. Nobody should ever call me for any reason. If you're going to call me, you better text me first, because if my phone rings, I'm not answering if I'm not expecting your call.
Robot calling.
Yeah. There are 2 people that I accept calls from if I don't already know the call is coming. Heather and my mother. That's it.
2 of the more important people as it is. So that's what it is. And then you hear, because me, I'm like, I always scan my shit. So I'm like, I see the phone ring, and I'm like, okay, this is a number that is from outer space. I don't know it. I'm not gonna listen to it. And it's like, oh, you owe this amount of money. I'm like, give me a real fucking phone number, then I'll fucking talk to you.
Yeah.
You know, not like, oh, 955-636-777. I'm like, really? What the fuck?
Where are you from?
Yeah, where are you from? Oh, I'm from Texas. Really? Okay. Not to say that Texas has like crazy people calling. I'm just saying that I just thought of it a state, and I want to lose viewers, but
It's okay. Texas has crazy people.
well, yeah.
Everywhere has crazy people.
So
Everywhere
Long
has
Island, New
crazy
York.
people.
Long
Yeah.
Island, New York has a lot of crazy fucking people.
I grew up in Minnesota. We're famous for our nice people, and even we have crazy people.
Yeah, yeah. But actually, Minnesota has a good isn't it the Mighty Ducks from Minnesota? Yeah.
Yes.
That's a good fucking movie.
Oh yeah.
I have to say, yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, Mighty Ducks. There we go.
Also,
Yes.
also, Richard Dean Anderson is from Minnesota.
That's right. Yeah, from my guy right that did the whole hockey thing. Sons, bitches. So okay. Now, how does one? I know you said you don't have usually guests on there, but if there's like a way that some little squid can go and siphon through to to the campfire classics and just listen in onto the thing, because I like to give my and I do that too. We call it, I'll listen and I'll give my two like, really, how did he had sex with how many fucking women, you know and then he had time to write a book. I'm like, what the fuck? And then I try to piggyback off of like whatever Heather's saying, and all that, and then you go and then I piggyback off of what you're saying left and right, and then all of a sudden people just look at me like, who the fuck are you talking to? Radio.
talking to my friends on the
Yeah.
podcast. Who are you talking to?
Yeah, they're in my head. You know, they hear you, but they can't talk to you right now. Yeah.
That's one of the weirdest things I've found about getting into both podcast listening and podcast recording
Yeah.
is that there are people whose shows I listen to regularly, and I'm like, oh yeah, those are those are my friends Joe and Carol.
Yeah.
I've never met Joe and Carol. They don't know who the fuck I am.
That's
but
what I want
you know,
to do. I
but
want
you
to
know,
get people.
but you listen to them in your headphones from the
Yeah.
podcast all the time, and you start thinking of them as your friends.
Yeah.
And then I've experienced a similar thing where we will occasionally have fans of the show reach out and they know things about me, and I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot I mentioned that on the podcast. Wow, there are people who know way more about me than I think they do. That's bizarre.
I gotta make sure I get myself into like a zone and not be able to do that again.
Or just keep track of what I'm sharing, so
Yeah.
that when someone is like, hey, remember that time when you were 11? I'm not, do you read minds?
Oh, that was on the podcast. Son of a.
Oh
Yeah.
God, that's right.
But then,
that.
but then also you edit the stuff too, and you just let it go.
Well, yeah, because most of that stuff ends up being some of the funniest or most charming or more,
Yeah.
when I edit it, I'm not like, I take out very little content. What I take out is like the stuff where, I had to move my microphone, and so you
Yeah.
hear rustle, 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 rustle.
Yeah, just
or
a little.
or it took us 6 minutes to find a good definition for that word. We're gonna cut that down to 1 minute.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
I'm like, definition. I'm like, what the hell is that? I don't know. Even though I was very good in school and all that, and I got by and did high school, and they're like, hey, you should go to college. No, not really. I did the school thing already. I just do work, and I was like working for like 20 years now. I mean, I still work, but doing a little forklift here and there. A little. I'm not saying manly, but everybody has their own like, set schedule of what they do. Whether it's doing mixing cement or they're going and selling cars or whatever, or even being in theater. And theater is nice. And speaking of theater, let's talk about Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice, which I love. I love Beetlejuice. I love the movie. I love the cartoon.
Oh yeah.
I got a story about Beetlejuice when I went to go and see him live, and it's just the funniest shit ever. So uh, my girlfriend, we're watching the commercial, and I'm like, Beetlejuice, and she goes, you want to see that? Because you're not really a musical kind of person. I'm like, yeah, but it's fucking Beetlejuice.
But it's Beetlejuice.
Yeah, I'm like, what can be fucking wrong? It should be good. I mean, if they're singing, that's fine. I'm like, I can deal with it. So, and then I'm like, as long as there's drinks, whatever. So, so we get there, and to my surprise, my birthday's in August, folks. I'm gonna have a PO box. Anyway, so we call it. So she got me tickets for Beetlejuice. So me and her went on my birthday, see Beetlejuice, and I'm like, okay,
Awesome.
cool. So we went to the city, got there, maybe a half an hour early, go through the whole thing, pat you down, kind of shit, whatever. Get in there, we sat down. Now this starts up the whole thing. Now they do this whole montage, and this is, I think, when Trump became president,
Okay.
around that time.
So you're looking back
And
2016, 2017 ish.
yeah, around there, because like I said, folks, I'm not political, so I have no fucking clue. Anyway, but so watching the whole thing, and I'm sitting there. So me and my girlfriend are right here. In front of us, there's parents with their three kids. Three kids of being like 8, 9, and 10. And the musical very suggested cursing.
Oh yeah.
Very suggestive cursing. And when I say that, folks, I mean batten down the hatches. It's gonna get nasty. Yeah. So the first two sentences before the whole thing, he goes, "Welcome to the show. I am Beetlejuice, and we're not gonna build no fucking walls because we're gonna tear those fuckers down." Now I'm sitting behind this couple, and I swear to God, now my hands are the heads of the couple, and this is what we see. And then they just like, and then they look down, and then they look like, okay, what the fuck did we just do? Because they,
Well,
you know,
and that show, the show start even leaving alone their little political commentary in that on that show.
yeah,
The show starts with Lydia comes out and sings a song, and then Beetlejuice's first line in the play is "Holy shit,
yeah.
a ballad already."
I was like, wow, and the whole production is like fucking awesome.
Oh yeah, it's great.
It's like, but then there's stuff in there that I did not realize. Now I've seen the movie from front to back, back to front, up and down, sideways, going to see the sandworms, to the half woman secretary in hell, you know, and I never knew there was a Girl Scout, come into the house. I'm like, where was this in the fucking movie? I don't remember this. I'm like, they added this stuff to it or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and that's his second line is
Yeah.
such a bold departure from the original source material.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's one of the things I love about that production is they're just like, yeah, it was a great movie, but we can't just take the movie and add songs to it. So we're gonna have to change some shit.
Yeah, they did, and
And they did.
It was funny as hell, and it was great. And then the atmosphere of the theater itself was just like it had the colorizations, all about,
Yeah.
and it's just like it had that feel like you are in the attic,
Yeah.
of said house, and but then all of a sudden the intermissions come by, and I'm like, intermissions. I'm like, wow, I haven't heard that word in a long time. And then all of a sudden after, I'm like I said, I've never really gone, folks, to like musicals. This was my first one, and I'm like, I'm in awe. Believe me, I was dressed to the nines. I had shorts. I had the button-up shirt. I was wearing a tie, and I don't usually wear a tie, and I love wearing ties now. And I got horror ties, so I wear everything that's
Yeah.
horror. I got Jason one. I got the old style Frankenstein with the Dracula and all that, and like numerous other stuff. Bloodstain one. I was gonna wear the bloodstain one, and then they told me, no, no, don't do that. I'm like, I can't. Yeah.
So what was your tie for this occasion? What was the tie you wore to
Oh my god, I
Beetlejuice?
can't remember. I'm thinking it's not the jack o' lantern. I'm thinking it was it probably the Jason Voorhees. So I'm thinking I gotta ask my girlfriend because I think she would know exactly because she'd be like, "It's you. You will wear it, you know." And but then the intermissions come by and we get and there's a whole bunch of stuff you can get. You know, now like I said, I didn't drink anymore, so I'm like, all right, let me grab like a soda or something. And my girlfriend got like two shot like scotch, you know, which that was like almost like $40 or
Yeah,
something.
yeah, sure. Yeah,
And
by
you're in the
not drinking,
city,
you probably saved yourself $160. So good for
yeah.
you.
But it was still like, you know, we had M&Ms, Pringles, soda, and the scotch. You know, the thing was like maybe all together was like $90, and I'm like, this is the most expensive junk food I ever fucking got. You know, and
Yeah,
we haven't
yeah,
even gotten souvenirs yet. You know, and I'm like, shit. You know, but
yeah.
then we went
Makes
back.
puts movie theater concession stands to shame.
Oh my god, yeah. I miss the movie concession stands. I'm like, I love the popcorn. I love the you know, get the raisinets, get the goobers, get the you know, whatever you know, Mike and Ike's. You know,
Yeah.
I'm getting fucking hungry now. Hungry for sweets, because usually,
Oh,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah.
you know,
The drugstore just down the street from here sells. Have you seen these? They're the nerd clusters.
oh yeah, yeah,
These are like the new thing,
yeah,
and they're nerd ropes, but they've been chopped into little bite-sized pieces. And this drugstore carries them, but I guess people know when they get delivered because unless you show up within the first couple of days they're there, they sell out. The
yeah.
drugstore sells out of nerds clusters.
Now, what is that your go-to candy?
It is recently, yeah. Heather actually just discovered them for me,
Yeah.
maybe 6 months ago, and I had a couple of them, and I fell in love with them, and now they're this thing that sells out everywhere I go.
So was it clusters? Something clusters. What was it again?
Nerds clusters.
Oh, okay, yeah. Because
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to
so
put that in there too. So
yeah, they're nerds, but
yeah,
then they're like clumped onto a little bit of like gummy candy, and it's
yeah. Oh,
it's real good. It's all the sugar and the crunch and the chew and everything you could possibly hope for.
oh my God! It's just like, oh, it just melts in your mouth, not in your hands, but like some kind of thing. And it's not sexual, folks. No, it's candy. Yeah, that's just what.
Hey,
Yeah,
there's no reason it can't be both.
that's true. Yeah, you know, it's like especially. Whew, yeah, yeah. We just thinking about that. He's like, get a flustered. No, but what's your you and Heather's like? Actually, what is you and Heather's favorite movie to watch when you could be able to be together?
Uh, Oof, that's a tough question. Favorite movie to watch? We will always watch The Mummy if it's on,
Okay,
the Brendan Fraser one.
okay.
Um, During quarantine, a movie that we watched together more times than I care to admit to is Eurovision.
I've heard of it.
It's on Netflix.
Okay,
Eurovision: The Legend of Fire Saga. It is a Will Ferrell movie. I don't know if you're familiar with what Eurovision is, but the Eurovision Song Contest is this thing they do in Europe every year
yeah.
where every country submits a song and they get a singer to perform this song and the whole continent votes and picks the best song. It's
Oh, okay.
So Eurovision, the movie, is based on this song contest, but Will Ferrell and Rachel McAdams
Yeah.
play the duo that gets selected from Iceland to go perform at the Eurovision Song Contest, and
Nice.
it is hilarious. It is wild. It is the performances are insane. There's pyrotechnics, and It's bonkers. It's a really fun movie.
Yeah.
So that is one that Heather and I have watched together more frequently than I'm proud of.
You don't want to admit it. Like, listen, I watched it and it was good. But
I watched it and it was good. And then we watched it again and then again. And then sometimes when I'm cleaning the house, I just put it on. And sometimes when I'm having trouble falling asleep, I just put it on.
Oh yeah, you're just hooked. You're hooked, and like
it's
talent.
It's one of those movies. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's also a thing where I now know it so well that I can put it on in the background and like go for a run and come back and know exactly where the movie is.
Yeah, and then you'd be like, you're doing your work or whatever, you're doing dishes, and I was like, oh, they're on that part. Okay, yeah, no problem. Yeah. Actually, that's like the same thing where my girlfriend has never seen 8 Crazy Nights by Adam Sandler.
Sure, yeah.
So she was watching it, and I'm sitting in the other room because I was like, doing stuff for like the podcast and everything. I was like, okay, It's like, aren't you going to watch it? I'm like, I've seen it many times. I can tell you what's going on right now. And she goes, really? I'm like, yeah. There's going to be 2 little midgets coming out. One's all hairy, and it's a guy. And he's like, I'm going to tell you about the whole thing over here. Yeah, that's what I want to do. And it kind of sounded, oh my God, it did sound like him actually. But anyway, and Adam Sandler's like the drunken, guy that, the town fucking hated, And she goes, and she's sitting there, and I'm doing my thing. Well, so then I hear this going, this is so disturbing. I'm like, how disturbing is it? It's like, the guy doesn't shave. The whole body looked like a billy goat. I'm like, welcome to Adam Sandler's world. Yeah. And he makes some really great fucking movies, and movies that you wouldn't even think that he did. You're like, oh, it's an Adam Sandler movie. I'm like, what? Really? I'm like, son of a bitch.
Well, and that dude's got range too. Could like, his early stuff, the Happy Gilmores and whatnot, where he's just being, silly Adam Sandler. But then he does the things like Punch Drunk Love and Spanglish, and you're like, oh, dude can like act. Dude can be serious too.
And actually, we call it and Josh G from we call it Your Next Favorite Movie podcast.
Mm-hmm.
He's gonna love this because I'm gonna tell you about Grandma's Boy.
Grandma's Boy. Okay, go.
Oh, folks, we gotta dabble him into the Grandma's Boy. This is gonna be another movie in your rankings to go look into. So it's an Adam Sandler movie.
Okay.
And Adam Sandler always has his friends go in the movie. Like every movie you see, it's the same people that's in the movie. So remember, not Happy Gilmore. What Happy Gilmore? That's the one, the golfing.
That's
right?
the golf one, yeah.
So the guy that played a caddy, the guy that was a caddy for him, he stars in the movie called Grandma's Boy. Doris Roberts, God rest her soul, she is in the movie as well. You would never figure her to be in this kind of movie. Now, this movie contains drugs, alcohol, video games, pornography, and anything else you could think of. So, and having Doris Roberts smack dab in the middle of this with Shirley Jones, and some other woman, I forgot what it was, and the woman that plays Velma in the Scooby-Doo movies. And it's just phenomenal. I just love the movie. It just starts out, you're smoking a bong, and the guy that played in The Animal, Schneider.
Rob Schneider, yeah.
Yeah, he comes in, and he's like, he looks like I'm not gonna say he's like an out of the country kind of person, but he has that look, and he's like, he goes, oh, you have no money for the room? He goes, okay, we take it. We have these guys, and they grab your nuts and crush them like this. and then we just talked about it. He goes, oh, and you want this? Okay, here. He goes, was it valuable? Oh, I'm so sorry. And it was the bong. He goes, the bong. But then it starts off like that, and it goes like more wacky. And the guy, makes and tests video games, but in the process, he's making a video game, not for himself, but making one to promote it to and see what he can get it at.
Right.
And the grandma, which is Dora Roberts, has these friends. They live in a house, and he broke. He got kicked out. So now he's living with the grandparents, but he can't tell the people at work that he lives with his grandparent and her friends. So it's like, oh, I'm living with, these three hot girls, and they won't leave me alone. They want to have sex all the time, while smoking doobies, and they're like, what? You got the life, And then he goes and gets like drugs from a guy named Dante. At first you walk in there, I know I'm telling like the whole movie, but you have to see it to believe it. And it's called Grandma's Boy. Can't I tell you, you're not gonna be disappointed when you see this. You'll be laughing hysterical.
There's a decent chance I'll be watching it tomorrow night. Every time you bring something up, I'm making a note of it on my phone.
Oh, I love it. Somebody's making notes on me.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely. No, I love getting like new recommended things sent my like stuff that I would never have found on my own. And so whenever I'm having a conversation like this, I'm like, what was the name of that movie again? Okay, cool. Yeah, got it. What was that TV show? Yeah. Oh, who was that band you were talking about? Okay.
Yeah. So and speaking of that, we call it, what kind of music wise, I'm not saying you're like the classical kind of guy, but you probably do dabble into it.
Classical I have enjoyed.
Yeah.
I was raised listening to mostly the same music that my dad listened to, so it was a lot of your sort of mid late 60s sort of rock and folk.
Yeah.
Rock and folk bands. So starting with like the Beach Boys in the early 60s.
Yeah.
And then running there was a lot of Cream in the house, which was one of Eric Clapton's bands. The Beatles, the Rolling Stones, Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd.
Actually, I was talking to a person yesterday, Sips and Sass and Sips, they're called. It's a podcast where they dive into like one show, and the show is Lost. So the show's name is Lost, and they do each episode of different things that happen in Lost or whatever, and it was good.
Yep.
And she's really cool, and her father used to was in a band called the Quarrymen, which toured with the Beatles.
Huh.
Yeah.
Cool.
And I was like, oh wow, that's fucking awesome. I'm like, and I wrote down, and that's gonna be like in that whole episode art kind of thing. And
the Quarrymen was also, I believe, the name of John Lennon's band before the Beatles.
Yeah. So and that's what I'm thinking.
So, which is just a cool little parallel that they then went on to tour with a band called the
band or something. But I think they did have some kind of stint with the Beatles too. I think at a certain point. And I'm
awesome.
Like, wow, that's pretty cool. But it's also, it was like, so that's basically it. That's like, from your dad's point of.
But then like I was also, I was a teenager in the 90s. I got into the grunge thing. I was a big Nirvana fan. I got into Green Day real hard. Green Day. I am still desperately hoping that the world will accept a ska renaissance. I want ska music to come back so badly.
All right. It could happen.
I feel like ska is the kind of music that you can't listen to and not smile.
Now, explain what is ska music. I think I know because I have friends that are in bands, and I think they do the same thing. I'm not sure.
Ska takes heavily from a couple of different genres of music, but most of the bands, their setup is they look like they're a punk band with a horn section.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It is.
And so the guitars end up doing a lot of sort of offbeat, very kind of like island funky rhythms, and then there's the horn section in the back. Yeah.
Like the Mighty Boss Tones, I guess.
The Mighty Boss Tones, yes, absolutely. They are one of those early ska bands. No doubt started out as a ska band. and then turned into something weird.
Yeah,
Um,
something with like, I don't know, I forgot, but
yeah. And then Gwen Stefani went solo, and
yeah,
it's
yeah.
been
Now she's married to a country singer.
Gwen Stefani, if you're listening, and I know that you're listening, obviously you're
Yes.
listening. Nothing against you personally. I think you're probably a wonderful, lovely human being. I just miss the music you made with No Doubt.
Oh, I know. It was like dun, 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 dun. I remember like the sound like that very first song that you hear, and it's like, I'm just a girl. You know,
I'm just a girl
yeah,
in the world.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I remember certain things. I'm like, folks, see, I'm not just a heavy metal, hair banging, I listen to different shit. Come on now.
Yeah.
It's like,
Uh,
and then I had friends that were in a band, and one band was called Edna's Goldfish, which is not like a ska thing, but it was more not Jethro Tull, but it was more retro kind of like classic rock or rock more in there, and it was cool. I loved the whole feel of it and everything else. But two of the members of the band, they got into where there was a ska band, and I forgot the name. They do have a band now called the Root, not the Roots, the Rook.
the Rook. Okay.
Like the I think like in chess, I think the Rook.
Yeah. The is the piece that looks like a castle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So they have a band and all that. And it's out on I think it's on Spotify or whatever. I haven't really checked it lately, but check it out when in your leisure, I guess. Um, and they were doing the whole thing, but they had a ska thing where they had the trumpets, they had the horn section, and it was really fucking cool. It was like
Yeah.
there was like my friends that were doing the bass, the guitar, and the drums, and they had a singer in this and somebody else, and it was like really cool. And I'm like the oldest out of every one of them, so I was like, okay, I'll drag you guys around.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, we gotta go to this bar. I'm like, how can you do that when you're not of age? But it's like, yeah, we can play, but we just can't drink. We're going to go in the alley and drink. I was like,
That's
oh, the
always
days of the alley.
that's always seems shady to me, that like a bar would let a bunch of like 19-year-olds in to play but
Yeah.
not serve them. Come
Well, you
on.
never know. I mean, back in those days, and like back in those days when we're younger and we sneak into the bars, and then like, oh, fake IDs here and there,
Yeah.
and you
I
we
don't
go,
know. I moved to New York when I turned 18,
yeah,
and nobody, like, I never got carded. I was never carded. I never
yeah,
got a fake ID because nobody cared. It was New
yeah,
York, and they looked at me and they're like, yeah, you're fine.
yeah. As long as you had a beard or something, you look like you're old
Mhm.
enough. That
Yeah.
was it. Me, I had like the goatee, like this, like this was
Mhm.
like the whole thing, and and it was like darker, but then they're like, oh, yeah, okay, no problem. But I had friends that knew everybody in there, so they're like, oh, he's cool, bring him in. And I felt good. I'm like, yeah, cool. But then you drink, you're like, you son of a bitch. Yeah.
Yeah.
now,
Yeah.
now, what is your go-to drink to go and hang? Like if you and Heather were going, not even saying going out. Like say you're indoors, you're watching your movie, the one that nobody doesn't want you to know about, and but we're gonna keep it on the wraps. People,
Yeah.
you did
Uh,
not hear this from us, and
yeah, I'm a whiskey guy. I like my whiskeys.
okay, yeah,
So if I'm gonna drink and like sip and enjoy a drink, it's gonna be
yeah.
a whiskey thing. If I'm out with people, I'm probably drinking Guinness. Um,
Oh, do you have your
and
own mug? You have your mug in the box?
I do not. No. My attachment to Guinness is mostly comes from the fact that it's a beer that is thick enough, heavy enough that as I drink it, I get full, and light enough on alcohol that I can drink it
Yeah,
all night long when I'm out with people, and I know I'm not going to get drunk. Like I
yeah.
know I'm going to be okay to drive home because it's
Oh yeah,
only like 4% or something like that. Like
yeah,
it's a low percentage beer, and it's heavy, so I'm not knocking them back, and so it ends up being a great one for when I'm going out with people in the evenings because I like the taste of it.
yeah.
And I know I'm going to be okay. I know I'm not going to go wild and crazy and, you know, end up vomiting from the walkway in between two subway cars.
I know, it just looked like, oh, you know, oh, I feel so sick. Here comes the coffee. And that's what it looks like. It actually looks like coffee.
Yeah.
You know, but my brother, you know, he loves Guinness. I think he still drinks Guinness. I'm not even sure. But he's into this, like, you know, got to get in keep in shape kind of thing and do one of those decathlon kind of stuff, you know, when it comes around. Like he'll do the running, the swimming, the, you know,
the Iron Man triathlon.
yeah. So he'll
running, swimming, and biking. Yeah.
Yeah, but he's never a swimmer. So when they had to do a thing, he goes, oh, I don't know if I can do that. But anyway, the point is, like, when you get the Guinness, and we went to a bar together, and he asked for a Guinness, and you're like, well, you want a glass? He goes, oh no, I brought my own. You know, and then he goes over and he's like, hand me my mug. Yeah. And I'm standing there, I'm going, the fuck are you saying? Yeah. And here's a guy with a box going like, you know, like, and it comes over and he opens it up and it's like, you know, like some kind of like baggy thing, you know, and then the glass that comes out and, you know, like, here it is, you know, you know.
My question is,
yes.
So like I get having your own mug. That's like that's a pretty baller move. That's dope. Cool. Mm-hmm. My question is, who does he have carrying his mug for him that he calls for his mug?
Probably his girlfriend, wife now. So I don't know.
I want a mug servant. That sounds awesome.
Because you had to find somebody that would, you know, basically at that time when we have significant others. And they always carry a pocketbook about the size of a suitcase. Yeah. That has everything. Hold on. Wait. Hold on. They bring out the barbell, you know. Yeah. Oh, hold on. I got the battery for the car. Okay, put this over here. Yeah.
Oh, God, my dog.
Yeah. Oh, Fifi. Hey, you know. Yeah. Which, honestly, that's what I was thinking about getting. We call him a little Pomeranian, but, you know, like, have a little, like, you know, one of those holder things and just put them in there. Like, all right, you ready to go? Yeah, okay. You know? But, yeah, it's just, like, fucking great. Now, tell everybody about the show that you have with Heather. I think you did, but you give it more of a better synopsis than I did.
So Campfire Classics, we market ourselves as a literary comedy podcast where we try to read those books that look really good on your shelf. The idea is that every other week we swap back and forth selecting short stories from the public domain, as I mentioned, that we will read sight unseen, which means when the listener is hearing us read the story, we are reading it for the first time, and we're trying to on the fly make up voices for characters and trying to pronounce words correctly, and there end up being some surprisingly I think surprisingly hilarious moments as we run across, like, oh nope, that word isn't penis, never mind.
I remember that one.
Or just things like, oh crap, no, this character is American, I'm not supposed to be doing a French accent right now, or you know, any number of things. It's shocking how often writers from the early 1900s would write about continually thrusting into the deep dark hole, and you know, so that's what we do. And we try to keep it more or less PG-13, more or less, although there are times when the language gets pretty heavily R, or occasionally a little NC-17.
Whenever you get Heather going like, oh, you go, boy, you put that sucker in there. Yeah. She'll get she'll get a little unhinged when she really gets into it. She can get wild, and especially if we're doing an evening recording where we're both sitting with our second or third glass of whiskey for the night. It can turn really exciting. But that's basically what the podcast is we read these stories, and we
do running commentary along the way. And sometimes the commentary is, haha, that was a sex joke. And sometimes the commentary is, oh my God, that is so fucking racist. That is not okay.
Should we do that? No.
And yeah, and then we try to be a little educational along the way by looking up words we don't know and by giving some, usually I think, interesting historical context for the story, either about what was going on in the world when it was written or about the author who wrote it.
Yeah. See, folks, that's the reason why I wanted him to go and do it, because I just love how he would go and describe it to you. You know, it's like, dear listeners, do you do this? You know, this is a literary podcast. You know, we don't do jokes. Every once in a while we do it. You know, it could be this. Like it did with the co-host that was filling in for Heather. Yeah. You know, and you guys would go on and on and on, and you're like, oh, wait, we got something. We got a literary podcast we got to do. You know, but we got into, you know, talking about, you know, trampolines and, you know, sex trampolines and whatever.
And,
or something.
Yeah. Well, and recently we've been on a kick with my guest host right now. Recently we've been on a kick where every episode somehow we end up talking about puzzles. I don't know how we get there, but we always end up talking about puzzles. And it's like, no, this is not a puzzle podcast. I don't fucking care about puzzles. Let's get to what we do.
Now, my question is, now I don't want to say this to be, you know, try to interjecting you. Are you going to have, like, you know, when Heather comes back, you know,
yes.
to be, you know, still doing the whole thing and everything else,
mm-hmm.
Is the other co-host that's filling in, she be coming in with you guys doing like a 3 kind of...
No, what's going to happen is when Heather becomes available again, she and Emily are going to fight to the death, and whoever survives will become the permanent co-host of the podcast.
All right, this is when I have to go on the show too, so I can see this. And me and you will have popcorn while this is happening. You know, and then we'll have bets like, who do you got? Okay. Yeah.
Well, that is going to be our first live episode. We're going to live stream it, and we're going to take bets from our viewers, and it'll be probably really illegal, and I'm sure people will go to jail over it. No. Emily knows that she will be our sort of on-call guest host once Heather comes back, but I think to permanently try to expand it to a 3-person podcast would just feel a little unwieldy. Well,
I mean, the reason I say that because she has pretty much the same personality as you and Heather, so it's like a good combination.
She fits in incredibly well, which is why we keep bringing her back week after week. In fact, the first episode that I recorded with her, we met and I started recording with her. We were working on a play together in West Virginia, and we sat down and recorded an episode, and Heather's parents reached out to me and told me they thought it was really interesting that there were times when they thought Emily sounded so much like Heather that they forgot Heather wasn't on that episode.
Yeah, I mean, there is times where it did sound like I'm like, oh, that's not her.
That's not her. That's not her.
You know, but the antics, the laughing, not much the laughing from her side, but just the way, like when you describe the whole thing, and then you have the whole music background going dun, 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 and then do the whole thing, and then all of a sudden now she'll be doing a little singing. You know, like, this is what we're gonna do, and we're gonna get drunk doing it. You know, And I'm like, and I thought that was Heather at first, and then you were saying like, and this is so and so, you know, subbing in for Heather, and I'm like, what? Yeah. And to the point where I'm driving, going like this, going like, the fuck?
Who the crap is that? Yeah. Well, I'm actually hoping that Heather is currently, she's performing in a production of Footloose for Norwegian Cruise Lines. That's where she is. And I'm about to go work on a production of the Buddy Holly musical in Connecticut. That production is going to close on April 10th. Yeah. And then I am hoping to get on the cruise ship as a guest that next week. So with any luck, you'll be hearing a couple of episodes coming out in April that were recorded with me and Heather on a cruise ship in the middle of the ocean.
See, now that's what I was going to ask next, because like, are you going to be doing the show on the cruise ship? And I guess you would. You know, you got to bring all your stuff and all that. How much stuff do you have to do? You know, see, because me, I just got, and folks, yeah, I'm telling you this because I got headphones and microphones, but I don't really use them when I do this.
Yeah,
because you can hear me pretty good, like really crisp and everything else. Yeah, good.
Yeah.
So I just use the laptop, Zoom, and that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, my setup has changed a little bit because now I'm recording remotely with Emily, but I've got my headphones. They're pretty decent headphones. I've got a Shure microphone that's just a USB plug and play mic.
Okay.
I record my audio into GarageBand, which is,
everybody does that. I've been hearing about that. You know,
yeah, it's the audio editing software that comes free on Macs.
Yeah.
And then we use, when I'm recording with Emily, we use Zoom, and she records her end of the conversation into whatever her audio thing is.
Yeah.
And she sends it to me, and then I just layer the two tracks on top of each other, and it ends up being about 2 hours worth of editing to make sure everything lines up right, and and then I cut out some of the long awkward pauses, or like, oh, hang on a second, I have to go take this phone call. Well, that's not really interesting audio medium.
That'd be funny as hell. You're like, yeah, hello, yeah, I'm doing, yeah, okay, I'm doing it, I'm doing a show.
No. Hi, I'm recording a podcast. Yeah, no, it's cool. No, I'm just gonna keep all of this in. It'll be fine.
Yeah. Brought to you by Metro. No. And you ever try to go and do try to get like sponsors? I mean, I know I tried to, but or is that a thing that you guys like?
I mean, we haven't actively reached out to anyone about sponsorship. We have a Patreon page through our parent company is 50/50 Arts Production. And we have a Patreon page through that, and we have some patrons who give us a little bit of money every month, and that has more than paid for the expenses of doing the podcast, which is great. It's also paid for a couple of equipment upgrades like these microphones.
I gotta get one of those myself. But.
And you know, we would certainly take sponsors if they were offered, but among other things, we're still in that place of like, we have our listener base, but we're not getting, thousands and thousands of listeners every week to each new episode. And that's where, if you're looking at the people who like make a living off of this, you're looking at like the McElroy family, who are they've got like 6 podcasts, and all of them are always on the top lists. Or there are a bunch of true crime podcasts that seem to do really well. And a couple of my favorites are like Dungeons and Dragons actual play podcasts. These sort of things that have built-in listenerships and tons of listeners, and we're just not there. We don't have that kind of reach. And so like I'm not gonna try to get HelloFresh to sponsor us when they're also sponsoring my brother and me. Like, no, they're not gonna pay us to do ad reads.
I mean, honestly, we could. I tried doing what was the ones I did? I reached out to. There's a coffee, graveyard coffee, I think it's called, or something like that. It was like some weird coffee, and they've been around for years. I just thought they were new, and I'm like, oh, let me go and try and get down and talk to them. And I'm like, hey, you want to be able to do a sponsorship or whatever? I tried them. I tried Dunkin' Donuts. I tried some other donut place over by me. What was it? The one? Nintendo of America. You know, so I was
Yeah.
like, oh, I want to get a Nintendo Switch so bad, but I don't want to pay for it. So maybe they hand it to me for free,
Yeah.
but but also,
Yeah, we
folks, yeah,
yeah, we do the awkward thing of like if we run across something we really like, we just promote it.
yeah. Oh
You
yeah,
know,
no, I heard
and
that a
it's
couple of times. Heber's like,
yeah.
yeah, come on, yeah,
Yeah,
bring
yeah.
it here.
We started doing HelloFresh meals, and some of them are really tasty, and so I was just
Yeah,
like, I can't help myself. I'm gonna say nice things about HelloFresh, and
yeah,
I don't care that they're not paying for it. I think
yeah,
it's awesome. I
yeah.
ran across I ran across a video game recently that's supposed to come out in March that's called Write and Fight.
I know. I've been listening to that. Yeah,
Yeah, and I reached out to them to just be like, "Hey, just so you know, I'm not asking for anything from you, but I just wanted you to know that I'm talking about this game on our podcast because it sounds freaking incredible. It's like a Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat kind of game, but
yeah.
all of the characters are like William Shakespeare or Charles Dickens or Alexander Dumas, and they all have different superpowers based on their writing styles or their characters or whatever."
I'm thinking like when I heard that, and I'm like, it's almost like a celebrity death match.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. It's like Celebrity Deathmatch if they were all writers.
writers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because then you see like and there's people that's gonna be listening. It's like celebrity deathmatch. What the fuck is that, folks?
Oh, well, yeah.
Celebrity deathmatch, in a nutshell, is claymations of different, like Weird Al Yankovic versus uh whoever was like big, like Michael Jackson. Because you got Eat It versus Beat It. You know,
Yeah.
Einstein versus Jefferson. They get everybody from like a time machine, and it's like, and it's a ring. They go and wrestle. They use their talents and all that. They got guys that's sitting up there dictating the whole thing. They got reporters. It's like a wrestling match as it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Um,
That
but
was back in the golden era of MTV is what that was.
and during the Super Bowl halftime show, because they had the commercials, and that was one of the commercials, and that took off actually
Yeah.
for, I don't know, 2, maybe 3 or 4 years or whatever. And I wish that son of a bitch came back. I love that. You could do a lot of shit now with the celebrities, like Kanye West versus fucking Kim Kardashian. you know that would be fucking awesome.
Oh,
But
I think Kanye West versus anybody, right? I feel like there are a slew of celebrities who would love to get a swing at Kanye
oh yeah,
West.
Taylor Swift. You cut me off. What the fuck? Especially when you get like some kind of you're running out of whiskey there, buddy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's what was left of my my iced coffee.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But now right and fight, like right left.
No, right like
Oh,
writing.
okay. I got it wrong.
So WRITE N fight, but N is just the letter N, like
Yeah,
rock and roll.
yeah, like, or Captain N. Yeah,
Yeah.
like there is a video game called Captain N, like Captain Nintendo. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah, what do you call it? So folks, right and fight. Go talk to this guy. You know. We
Yeah. Come at me for sponsorships.
Yeah, and then we can all and also we can get a sponsorship of Nerds Cluster as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Ooh,
yeah.
I'm gonna sit and eat my Nerds Cluster, and I'm gonna play as Alexander Dumas throwing wine bottles at Shakespeare's head.
All right, so now we're pretty much at the end of the show, somewhat, because we did about like an hour and a half.
Right.
And so let everybody know where they can find you and Heather, even though she's out and about on the boardwalk of a boat, and your co-host in somewhat training, I guess.
Yeah. So you can find all of us individually on the social medias. Facebook, Instagram. I'm not great at Twittering, but I'm trying. For me, you just look for Ken Sandberg. It's me. I'm one of the first ones to pop up.
Yeah.
Emily Bosco, who is the current guest host. That's Emily Bosco. You can find her through stuff. And then Heather is either Heather Michelle Lawler or Heather McPirate, depending on which social media app you're looking at.
I think it might be the Heather Michelle Lawler, I think.
But I'm saying, like, sometimes different apps have different names. She has gone by both Heather Michelle Lawler and Heather McPirate, so it depends on which app you're looking for, but just check that out. And then Campfire Classics podcast. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram. Yeah. We have a website, campfireclassicspodcast.com, and you can listen to us literally anywhere you listen to podcasts. We're on Spotify, we're on all of the podcatchers. Yeah. We host through Podbean. So that's where we upload. You can find us there. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. We come out with new episodes every Tuesday morning at 8:00 Eastern time.
You're early birds.
Yeah, well, I mean, I upload it usually Sunday or Monday, and it auto drops for me. But we drop Tuesday mornings. We have yet to miss a week since we began. We have released every single Tuesday morning at 8:00. With a couple of bonus episodes in there, actually. And this I just recorded another episode that I'm really excited about. It is a mummy's curse story. Oh, wow, I like this. Written by Louisa May Alcott, the woman who wrote the book Little Women.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah, it's wild. I was not prepared for it to be as good as it is, but it is a legit mummy's curse, like Curse of the Egyptian Tomb kind of short story. It just happens to be written
from Little Women.
But it just happens to be written by the same woman who wrote Little Women.
Huh. Well, there is like certain people that they're known for one thing, but then when they go and do something else, they're like, I did not know they can do that. They got the chops and they can do whatever.
Apparently, she actually started out by writing like ghost stories and like mystery detective thrillers.
Yeah.
It just happens to be that Little Women is the thing that got her famous, so that's what she's known for.
Nice, very good. Yeah. And also, you can reach me at Linktree. So you go linktr.ee/Tattoo Squid Podcast. That's TA2SQUID. Not to be associated with the TATTOO. And also, Ken, thank you for being on the show. I know you can only be like one and the other one, but hey, we got it all together here. We're all, and I've wanted these guys to be on forever. Even when I started doing the second season of that, I'm like, I know we had problems where your scheduling was a little, tight here and there.
Yeah.
So, and you found out from me, we call that, has your lighting gone out?
No. So, the sun has set.
Holy shit. I just noticed that that you just went, and, there you go.
I sat down in the room because I'm an hour behind you. So I sat down and the sun was still like up there. And in the hour and a half we've been recording, it's now gone. So I lost all my lighting.
I'm like, I thought it was a regular light that you had on, and I'm like, he didn't pay his power bill. I'm like, son of a bitch.
I didn't pay my power bill, and yet somehow my internet is still connected.
Yeah, it's something like that. I don't know. Yeah, but it's great.
Yeah, no, that was lighting by God, is what that was. Yeah, sunset just came in.
God's flashlight coming at you and then dimming down. Yep. and that's the only time you're gonna hear a sexual innuendo from this guy. So, but as it is. But usually I go and talk to the guests like after, we stop and then all that and see how they like the whole thing and their films. Yeah. But I got like one or two questions, not now, but I mean like one off the air.
Sure.
To ask and all that. All right. So everybody have a good night. Today is Saturday, the
26th.
26th, which is 28 days in February, folks. Some people don't fucking know that, but it is. So get your rent out early.
Pay those bills. Pay those bills
and get them out of the way because, it's crazy.
Because it's winter and you don't want to get kicked out of your house.
Yeah, or they give you leeway a little bit. If you got nice people. Other than that, you don't. You just do other stuff. I don't know. But thank you again, Ken, for being on the show.
A pleasure.
And folks, have a nice night. I was gonna go and put some like intro thing or outro, but nah, we'll just leave it at that. So, alrighty, because this squid is not good with like stuff. I gotta figure out more stuff, like another promo maybe to send to you guys. That's something different or whatever, because I'm trying to work on something. But
Cool.
all right. So I'm going to talk to Ken in a minute, and then and alrighty.
We're gonna talk in a minnow.
In a minnow, not together in silent minnow, but a minnow nonetheless. So alrighty, folks, take it easy.